Today is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be what? Glad in it. Comment down below if you finished that sentence with me. So my name is Shantavia, aka Shay, and I am one half of Obedience Podcast from my co-host Ashley Petway. And here at Obedience Podcast, our mission is just to simply obey. Obey is an acronym that stands for O, being obedient to God, B, believing in God's word, E, evolving through Christ Jesus, and Y, yielding to Holy Spirit. So if you think that you'll be interested in our content, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and that bell notification so you're notified every single time we upload. And be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. I'll make sure they're on the screen for you right now. But I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Makeup and Ministry. So Makeup and Ministry is a segment that I do where I just basically tell a Bible story while doing my makeup. Just as simple as that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this story. So just a fun fact for you guys. Today is Valentine's Day. It is February 14th when I'm filming this. So happy belated Valentine's Day to everyone out there. I hope that y'all feel all the love. And for all my single ladies out there, remember that the greatest love of all is Jesus. All right, so no reason to be sad, okay? It's 3:55 and around 3 the sun is like right on my window. So if y'all see like some sun marks that go on right there, I do apologize. It's just because of the sun, and I just want to go ahead and get this done because this is actually going up tomorrow. So late. But yeah, on a previous episode of Makeup and Ministry, I talked about Joseph, the dreamer. And we talked about his story from Genesis 37 when he was 17 years old, and his brothers sold him off to a caravan and betrayed him. He ended up being a slave. And then we told the story all the way up until he was the second in charge of Egypt in Genesis 41. So if you haven't watched that episode of Makeup and Ministry, it's called From Pit to Palace. Definitely go check that out first. And then come back here to check out part 2 because we are continuing Joseph's story in this episode. So we'll be picking up at Genesis chapter 42 for everyone who likes to follow along in the Bible. And I also want to mention too, do not judge my nails, okay? My nail lady, someone in her family caught COVID. So keep her family members in your prayers. It was a choice between COVID, ugly nails. COVID, ugly nails. So y'all know I chose ugly nails because your girl don't play by COVID. So don't judge my nails, okay? Okay, we family. Y'all may catch me catching my breath a lot in this episode. Your girl's asthma is acting up. So pray for me on that as well. I wish I could find the piece of wood that is in the wrong place that's causing this beam of sunlight to get on me. I can't find it. So we'll be jumping from what's going on in Egypt to actually see what's going on in Canaan with Joseph's father and his brothers. So yes, Jacob is still alive. That's Joseph's dad. And I do want to mention one thing too. Since the last Makeup and Ministry, I did research all of the brothers' names because I did not have that last time. Extreme side note, I'm doing this Bible reading plan with Daily Dale if y'all follow her on YouTube. And we are just reading through the Bible in a year. So I actually read the entire Genesis. And so that's how I found out what all the brothers' names are. The more you know, right? So I'm going to tell y'all all of the brothers' names in order. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, oh Jesus, Naphtali, I probably saying that wrong, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. And then also, y'all, fun fact, Joseph also had a sister called Dinah, however y'all want to say it. But yeah, that's all of Jacob's clan of children. So, like I said, we're in Canaan right now. So, Jacob hears about all the food that's available in Egypt, and he tells his sons to go and get some food because they are running out of food extremely fast. Now, you got to remember that he, at this moment, has 11 sons with him in Canaan, and And 10 of his sons have like family, like they have wives and kids that they have to feed themselves. So Jacob is responsible for a lot of people, and they are quickly running out of food. So he tells his sons to go to Egypt to buy some food because he hears that Egypt has all the food. And you remember from the last episode, we know that Egypt is prepared because God was with Joseph, and they have the food saved up from the famine, well, from the surplus that was going on in the land. So 10 of Jacob's sons head to Egypt. Yes, I said 10 because Jacob refused to send his youngest son, Benjamin, to Egypt because this is his youngest son. He's still traumatized from losing Joseph. And also, this is his last son from his first true love, Rachel. Okay, we're going to get into that story probably next month. This is his only son left from her. So he's super protective of Benjamin, and he's just like, no, Benji's not going. So only the 10 brothers go. So the 10 brothers arrive in Egypt, and they are in line to pay for their food. And as they get to the front of the line, Joseph recognizes his brothers. Now, his brothers don't recognize him because Joseph looks like an Egyptian. I am assuming he had like a wig on and he was like in all the Egyptian get up, and so they do not recognize that it's their brother Joseph. And so they come to the man who they think is the governor of Egypt, who is actually Joseph. So they go up to him to buy the grains that they need to eat, and they bow before him. Yeah, I'm gonna do my brows off camera. I'll be back. Meeting him. I think it's this little one right here. Okay. I think I fixed it, y'all. I think I fixed it. Praise be to Jesus. Back with brows, you guys. Before I drew my brows, the last thing that we were talking about was Joseph's brothers headed to Egypt to buy some grain. They come to the front of the line. They bow before him, but they don't realize that it's Joseph. Joseph immediately recognizes that they are his brothers, but he decides to act like they are strangers, and he actually spoke harshly to them, and this was all a part of his plan. So he actually speaks very harshly to them, and he's like,
"Where are you from?"
And they reply, "We're from the land of Canaan, and we have come to buy food." And so then Joseph remembers his dream from a long time ago where his brothers are going to bow before him, and he realizes that his dream literally just came true right before his eyes. And his brothers don't realize it, but he realizes it. Joseph keeps pretending as if he doesn't know who his brothers are, and he comes up with this extensive plan to test his brothers to see if they have changed at all. So he is going to try to get a little bit more information from them before he actually reveals himself to them. So he actually accuses them of being spies. He yells at them,
"You are spies! You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become."
So he's accusing his brothers of being spies. So all the brothers like start defending themselves, and they're like, "No, we're from Canaan. We came to buy food. Like, we promise you we're not spies. We're all brothers. We have a brother back home. We have a dad. We have family. We promise you we are not spies. We have just to come buy food." And they actually do say that they have 12 brothers, and they say that one of their brothers is no longer with them, talking about Joseph. So they do acknowledge Joseph to Joseph. Ain't that crazy? So Joseph's plan is clearly working. He's getting all this extra information from the men, and he decides that he wants a little bit more information and to continue to test them. So he tells the men that he will believe that they're not spies if one of them had to go back to Canaan to get Benji, and then the rest of them would stay in prison in Egypt. And that's just like a little payback for what they did to Joseph, but it's really nothing compared to how long he was in prison. But we're not even going to go there. We're not going to go there. We're just going to keep going with the story. But I am assuming that the brothers couldn't really decide who they were going to send back to Canaan. So Joseph just throws all of them in prison for 3 days. And then on the third day, he goes to the prison and he's like, "Listen, I'm a God fearing man. And if you do as I say, then you will live. And so Joseph actually is a little kind, and he's like, okay, instead of all of y'all staying in prison and one of y'all going back, I'll say that one of you can stay, and then the rest of you can go back and get Benji. And so when Joseph gives them this proposal, all the brothers like huddle together and they start talking. So the brothers are speaking Hebrew, and they think that Joseph can't understand them because Joseph has only been talking to them via a translator. And so they think that Joseph can't understand what they are saying. So they're speaking in Hebrew and they say, clearly we are being punished because of what we did to Joseph long ago. So they definitely remember what they did to him. And then Reuben is actually the oldest brother. And if we remember, Reuben is the one who tried to save Joseph before. When they first sold Joseph, you remember Reuben was the one who tried to like scheme up a plan to actually go back and save him. So Reuben is like, I told y'all not to sin against him. I told y'all, okay? So Reuben is like, listen, don't y'all make me feel bad. I told y'all to leave that boy alone. So, like I said, Joseph can understand all of this and he breaks down in tears, just like hearing his brother talk about him in this manner. And he turns away from them so they can't actually see him breaking down. And when Joseph regains his composure, he had his brother Simeon taken and tied up. And so he just decided for them, since clearly they were playing, Joseph is just like, Simeon is saying, y'all go back and get Benji. Now, I'm assuming he chose Simeon because he's the second oldest. And clearly he had just heard Reuben sticking up for him. So he's not going to choose Reuben. So he chose the next person to the oldest, which was Simeon. Now, before the 9 brothers actually leave, Joseph tells his servants to fill up their sacks full of grain, but also return the money that they paid for the grain back to the sack. So basically giving it back to them. And this just shows how kind Joseph is as a person. And so the brothers are on their way back to Canaan. And once night hits, the brothers decide to camp out. And one of the brothers tries to get some grain from his sack to feed his horse. And the brother sees that the money is sitting on the top of his grain. And he yells to his other brothers, look! And like all of their hearts sank because they know that this would appear to look like they stole the grain from the Egyptians instead of purchasing the grain like they truly intended on doing. So that's why they like all get so scared and their hearts sank, because it's making them look more like spies, which is what Joseph called them in the beginning. And you got to remember, like, they know that these people have their brother Simeon, and they're just like, oh my gosh, we're never going to get our brother back. And also, the brothers say to one another, what has God done to us? I just wanted to point that out because I was just like, whew. So when the brothers make it back to Jacob, they tell him, hey, this is everything that's happened. We really don't know how all of this happened, but it's happened, right? And Jacob is like, why do I keep losing sons? Like, I sent y'all to go get some food, and now you're telling me that Simeon is gone. Like, I've already lost Joseph. What are you talking about? And they also mentioned to him that the Egyptian governor wants to see Benji. And he's like, I am not going to give y'all Benji. Like, they have Simeon. I've already lost Joseph. And now you want to give him Benji too? Nope, not happening. Period. Gone by child day. So good old Reuben, he actually speaks up to his dad and he's like, listen, daddy, if I don't bring Benjamin back to you, you can kill my 2 sons. That's a lie. If I was Reuben's son, I would be like, hold up, daddy. But it didn't work anyway because Jacob is like, no, I refuse. You're not getting Benji and you're not about to kill your 2 sons. Like, no, I'm not having it. Y'all got to remember that in Jacob's head, Benji is all that he has left from his wife, Rachel, and he refuses to let him go. So basically, at this point in the story, Simeon is stuck in Egypt because Jacob is not budging. All right. So some time passes and they are running out of food again. And so Jacob tells his sons to go back to Egypt and get more food. Now, we have to remember at this time, Jacob is pretty old. So either he forgot what his son said or he was just delusional from being so hungry that he didn't care what his son said. Either or can be true right now. So Judah is like, Pops, do you not remember that we cannot go back to Egypt without Benji? Like, do you not realize that Simeon is still not here? Did you forget? And Jacob is being all dramatic and he's like, why are you being so cruel to me? Like, come on now. Come on now. Jacob, you already knew this. And then he's just like, why did y'all even tell this man that y'all had a brother anyway? If y'all didn't tell him, he wouldn't even be asking for Benji right now. And so Judah actually gets real with his dad and he's like, look, sir, if you don't let us take Benji, we're all going to die of starvation. Not just us and you, but also the little kids as well. So Judah actually uses the grandchildren to pull on Jacob's heartstrings. Y'all know how them grandparents are. And then Judah also adds that if something happens to Benji, that he can hold him personally responsible forever if Benji doesn't come back. And so this actually works, and Jacob allows the brothers to take Benji with them. So before the men get on the road, Jacob tells them to pack their bags with the best gifts. And these gifts include balm, honey, gum, aromatic resin, pistachio nuts, and almonds. And then he tells them to double the money. So he's basically saying, put the money back that they gave back to you, and then also add some new money so they know that, y'all didn't steal that, it was a mistake, and y'all are also returning with more money. Just trying to, make everything go off smoothly and just show them that, we're friendly. He really wanted to get Benji back safely, y'all. He really did want to get him back safely. Now we're going to switch back over to what's going on in Egypt. So Joseph is in Egypt and he's still doing his little governor's job by passing out the food. And one day he realizes that his brothers have returned and he sees them with Benji. And when they approach him and he can really see that this is truly Benji in the flesh, he tells his head of household to go and prepare a feast because he's going to have dinner with these men. And he invites the men in his house. Now, we have to remember that at this time, the brothers still think that they are enemies of this governor man, and this man still thinks that they're spies, and so they're terrified when they find out that they have to go in his house because they're just like, this is a scheme that Todd set up.
A scheme that Todd set up for him to come to you.
And we have to go in this house and they are going to do something to us terrible inside of this house, and we're not going to be able to return back to our families. So the brothers approach the head of household of Joseph and they're like, hey, last time we came, somebody put money in our sacks, and so we're just trying to return that money just so y'all know that we are not spies. And the manager of the household is like, y'all, everything is fine. Y'all don't have to worry about that. You have nothing to worry about, basically. And he tells them to relax, everything is fine. And he tells them to freshen up for the party. And then he brings Simeon to them. So all of the brothers are reuniting at this point, and they go ahead and get dressed for the shindig, right? So, skipping forward to the party. So the brothers go ahead and head into the party first, and they decide, let's go ahead and get our gifts ready for the governor. So when he comes in, he won't change his mind and he'll be okay, right? The brothers go ahead and pull out their gifts that their dad told them to bring. And then when Joseph enters the party, they walk up to him and they're bowed before him with all of their gifts. And then Joseph asks them, how their father is doing and if their father is still alive. And the brothers tell him yes, while they are still bowed down before him. And so Joseph is like, can you get up, please? And he looks at his younger brother, Benji. Now, y'all have to remember that Benji is Joseph's full-blooded brother. And so when he looks at Benji, he becomes overcome with emotion because he cannot believe that he's staring at his full-blooded brother that he has not seen in years. It's not giving me the color payoff I thought it was going to give me. Alright, y'all. My camera cut off. I wasn't talking when it cut off. I was actually talking about how that gold that I was using was not giving me the color payoff that I wanted. And so, yeah, you didn't miss any of the story. So I'm just going in right now with a transition color. So we're going to start at the point where Joseph is looking at Benji. I think that's the last thing that I was talking about. So Joseph is looking at Benji, who is his full-blooded brother, like I said. And he's overcome with emotion, just like realizing that this is truly his brothers. They all are still alive, and he's looking at the only remembrance right now that he has of his actual mother, because his mother has passed away by now. And so Joseph is overcome with emotions, and he runs out of the room before any of them can actually see him break down crying. So Joseph gets himself together and he goes back into the party and he tells the servants to begin serving the food. And Joseph sits the brothers in birth order, right? And the brothers notice this as well. And they're looking at each other like, this man just really set us in birth order. Like, how does he know that? Like, what are the odds that this stranger has just set us in birth order? The brothers notice this, but they continue to play cool because they want to make it out of this party alive, because they still don't recognize that this is Joseph. And so the party goes on, and they eat and they drink and they be merry for the rest of the night. And then after the party is over, they call it a night and they head to sleep. So the next day, Joseph wakes up before the brothers and he tells his servants to go ahead and prepare the grain for the brothers. And then he tells them to put his personal silver cup at the top of the youngest brother's sack. So this is Benji. Put his silver cup in Benji's sack. So the servants do as Joseph says, and then the brothers get all that stuff and they are headed back to Canaan with Simeon and Benji. I know that they were just like, whew, thank you, Lord. Okay, let's get out of here as quickly as possible before this governor changes his mind. So they are headed on the road to Canaan. And like 30 minutes into their journey, Joseph tells his servants, well, actually, Joseph tells his head servant to go and catch up with the young men. And when you catch up with them, ask them, why have you repaid my kindness with such evil? Why have you stolen my master's silver cup, which he uses to predict the future? What a wicked thing you have done. Okay, so that is what Joseph tells his head of household to do. So the palace manager does as Joseph says, and he catches up with the brothers, and he accuses the men of stealing the silver cup. So the brothers are like, what? Like, we thought we was out of here, and now this man talking about we stole a silver cup. And the brothers are like, if you find something, then whoever bag you find that something in, that man is going to die, and then the rest of us will stay and be slaves. So they were pretty confident that they didn't steal anything, because who is going to like come up with a deal like that? So that shows you just like how confident the brothers were that they didn't have this silver cup. And so Joseph's personal manager is like, no, We don't want anyone to die. We just want the one who stole the silver cup to stay, and then they are going to be the slave for the rest of their lives, and the rest of y'all can go. We don't want to kill anybody. So the brothers agree on this, and like all of them quickly empty their sack. And the palace manager, he goes through all of their sacks, and of course, he finds the silver cup in Benji's sack. And I know Benji's like, who said that?
Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
Who said that? Like, this is not mine. And the palace manager is like, thought y'all ain't steal nothing. So all the brothers, they get their sacks and they head back to Egypt so they could talk to Joseph themselves. So when they arrive to Joseph, Joseph asks them,
What have you done? Don't you know that a man like me can predict the future?
and then Judah responds, my Lord, we have all returned to be your slave, all of us, not just our brother who had the silver cup in his sack, which is Benji. So they all are returning to be slaves because they know that they cannot go back to Canaan without Benji. And of course, Joseph doesn't go for this because it's not a part of his plan. Like, he doesn't want them to be slaves. He really just wants to see if they are better people at this point in their lives. So he doesn't accept this plan. And he says, the one who stole my cup is going to be the one who's the slave. So he just wants Benji. So then Judah steps up to volunteer to be the slave instead of Benji. Now, remember, Judah promised his father that if Benji does not return, that he would be responsible for ever. And so Judah is trying to keep his promise to his father by making sure Benji returns home to his dad. Now, this really took me by surprise because if y'all in y'all spare time have a chance, read Genesis 38 so y'all can really see like who Judah was originally, and he's not one to really keep promises. So to see him right now in this moment, like really keeping his promise to his dad, it's a big deal, y'all. It's a huge deal to see him keeping his promise to his dad. But this is just proof that God can do the work inside of your heart to really change your character. Even if you've done some messed up things, it's never too late for Him to change someone's heart and to change their character and what they stand for. So just keep that in mind, you guys. Because let me tell y'all, he was not good to his little daughter-in-law in Genesis 38. So y'all definitely go check that out in y'all spare time. Okay, back to the story. When Joseph sees how hard Judah is going for Benji, he is overcome with emotions because he sees that his brothers have truly changed and they have passed his final test. They didn't just let Benji get sold off to slavery because they knew that he was innocent. Actually, they didn't even know if he was innocent because, they didn't know that that thing was placed in his sack. So it's kind of like they just didn't want their brother to be a slave. Like they were actually sticking together as brothers should. And so they had truly changed, and Joseph was able to see this with his own eyes. And so Joseph sends all of his staff away from them at that moment. He's like, get out of here. I need to be alone with these criminals. And so then when everyone leaves, Joseph snatches off his wig and reveals himself. He says,
It's me. It's Joseph.
and he's speaking in Hebrew when he does this. So the brothers are just like, they can't believe it because they really thought that Joseph was like dead or like somewhere in the wilderness, like nowhere to be found because they had sold him many years ago. And then I bet you they were also thinking like, oh my gosh, like this man has been playing with us this entire time. And then also he is crying and talking about, you're my brother's, like, isn't he mad at us? Like, we sold him. When Joseph realizes that his brothers are just like standing there in shock and they're not talking, he goes on to say, but don't be upset and don't be angry with yourselves for selling me to this place. It was God who sent me ahead of you to preserve your lives. Joseph is not even mad at them, y'all. He's telling them like, I love y'all. Y'all are my brothers. Please don't be upset with yourselves. Like this was all a part of God's grand plan. Whew, y'all. That just show you how God can truly work in your heart, y'all. That's so crazy and amazing. The type of God that we serve, right? Right. So let's quickly recap everything that has happened in this story, okay? So Joseph is sold to a caravan from his brothers, and then he's sold into slavery from that caravan, and then he's thrown into jail because he was accused of being a rapist, and then he's betrayed in prison by the cupbearer, and then he's exonerated, and he is put second in charge over all of Egypt, and now here he is face to face with his brothers, and they realize who he is. A lot has happened, right? A whole lot has happened. So, like I mentioned, Joseph has completely forgiven his brothers, and he's hugging and kissing them and just talking about how much he missed all of them. And he tells them to go get their father, go get their wives, and go get their children, and come and live in the land of Egypt because we have a surplus of food, and you guys don't have to worry about ever being hungry again. And then it's also an amazing story because we see how God can turn what someone else meant for evil into good for you. And so this story is amazing because of that. Guess what? Guess what? Your girl got a new blush palette. Ooh, my finger. I got a new blush palette. Y'all know in that everyday makeup routine that I did for Vlogmas, I was talking about wanting some new blushes. And I got the Juvia's Place, the Saharian Blush Volume 1. And it has 6 different blushes in it. So it was definitely a bang for my buck. Hopefully I said that right. And I've already dipped into, oh, I dipped into that one mistakenly. But I've already dipped into Neo this weekend. So I think I'm going to dip into it again because I did like it. It is very pigmented, y'all. So if y'all do decide to purchase this, just dab 1-2 times if you don't like a lot of blush. So Joseph's brothers head back to Canaan to go get their father. And when they arrive to their father, I'm sure Jacob is like overjoyed because he sees that Benji is back. And not only is Benji back, Simeon is back as well. And they exclaim the good news to their father, and they're like, Dad, Joseph is alive. And Jacob can't believe this because, like, he genuinely thought that Joseph was dead because if y'all remember in part 1, the brothers made it look like Joseph had got eaten by a wild animal. So Jacob truly thought Joseph was dead. And so Jacob is stunned and he cannot believe this news, but he sees like his 2 sons. And then I forgot to mention, Joseph also sends like all of this stuff with them, like tons of animals with them. So Jacob is like, this has to be true because where these boys get all this stuff from? And so Jacob packs all his stuff and is like, I'm gonna go see my son. He is alive. So he wastes no time. He packs all of his stuff and all of his family. Now, the move to Canaan to Egypt is a really big deal, by the way, if y'all didn't know, because Jacob knew that God had promised the land that he was living in, Canaan, to his father, and he was his father's descendant, so it was promised to him as well. So he knew that this was the promised land, and so he was really worried about leaving this land, but he knew like he and his family wouldn't be able to survive in this land. But God is so amazing that he actually calms Jacob's anxieties, and he visits him in Beersheba, where Jacob actually stops to make sacrifices to God on his journey to Egypt. And so while Jacob is making sacrifices, God reassures him that he is going to be with him in Egypt, so he doesn't have to worry that he's leaving the land behind, and that eventually he would bring his family out of Egypt back to Canaan. So God literally made a promise to Jacob that everything was going to be okay. Isn't it like so good, the God that we serve? Like, he's so kind and gentle with us. I just love it so much. So after this, Jacob is like really okay with going to Egypt because he knows that everything is going to be fine because God reassured him. So like I said, Jacob and his descendants are headed to Egypt. Now, Jacob has a total of 70 people with him headed to Egypt. So it's a lot of people headed to Egypt right now. So Jacob and his descendants, they arrived in Goshen. Goshen. I think it's Goshen. Anyway, they arrived there. And Goshen is just like a sub-city of Egypt, but it's still in Egypt. It's just like not super close in Egypt. Y'all know, y'all have places like this. And so this is actually what Joseph instructed them to go to when they arrived. And then Joseph meets them down there. And when he meets them down there, of course, he sees his dad and he is just like overcome with emotion because he is seeing his dad for the first time in many years. And when they see each other, they embrace and they hug each other and wept for a very long time, y'all. I can just imagine what this reunion was like. And so then Jacob looks at Joseph and he says, "Now I am ready to die, since I have seen your face again, and I know you are still alive." So sweet. And the family goes on to live happily ever after. Not! But that's where we're going to stop the story. Let me do my lashes and then I'll come back and do my outro. Alright, I'm back, y'all. I finished my makeup. Just so y'all know, I put some green on my waterline and then I put those eyelashes on and then I threw some regular MAC taupe lipstick on. So, ooh. But like I said, this is the end of the makeup and ministry. I thank you guys for watching part 2. Like I said, Jacob's family did not live happily ever after. They did live happily ever after for a couple years, but many years later, some crazy stuff happened. But we can definitely talk about the crazy stuff that happens to Jacob's descendants later on in life during another episode of Makeup Ministry. But we are done with Joseph's story. Wasn't that a whole lot, y'all? I couldn't even imagine that happening to me, like being betrayed by my brothers, and then just like when I finally see them, like forgiving them and embracing them and taking them in and protecting them. But that just shows you how much power God has if you allow him to work inside of you and you always keep him by your side. So really love Joseph's story, and it's a great story for anyone going through something where they were betrayed or they're having a hard time forgiving somebody. Just look at what Joseph went through and how he so easily forgave his brothers. It's so simple if you think about everything that he went through. So like I said, I want to thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button down below and then subscribe if you haven't, and then hit that bell notification so you're notified every single time we upload. I do this makeup and ministry thing every single third Tuesday, so definitely be on the lookout for the next episode. I think that we're gonna cover Jacob's and Leah and Rachel's story. So I think we're gonna get into that next. So y'all definitely be on the lookout for that. And then comment down below and let me know how y'all like this makeup look. If y'all don't know, I'm from Mobile, Alabama, and we are the original birthplace of Mardi Gras. And right now, Mardi Gras is going on as I record this. We had our first Mardi Gras parade Friday, so I am in the Mardi Gras spirit, and I decided to do a Mardi Gras look. So if y'all look closely, y'all will see the Mardi Gras colors, which is purple, gold, and green. So that's the look that I was going for, but I will put my inspiration picture up on the screen, but I did tweak it a little bit just so it can look a little bit more Mardi Gras-ish. I think that's the word. But yes, let the good times roll, y'all. Let the good times roll. And then y'all be sure to share this with 5 of your friends so they can get this amazing Bible story and they can also see this fabulous beat that I did. And then be sure that you are following us on all of our social media platforms. They should be on the screen for you right now. And then if you do have any prayer requests, we always are accepting prayer requests. So be sure to send us an email at obediencepodcast@gmail.com and we will always be in agreement with you guys. Do not forget, this month our series is Sacrificial Love. So we do have a free devotional that you can get if you sign up for our email list. The link is below. Ashley did an amazing job on this devotional, so definitely be sure to check that out. It's totally free, you guys. And then if you are a new Reborn believer, we do have our Reborn workbook that's available for purchase on our Etsy page. That link can be found in the description box below. But I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here so I can go ahead and enjoy the rest of my Valentine's Day. I do not have a date, but I am going to celebrate myself. And I'm going to take some pictures with my incredible beats because I'm not going to let this go to waste. Okay? Okay. So I will see y'all next time. And in the meantime, in between time, as always, be obedient. See y'all next time. Bye.